Greetings. Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome. Heroic Heart webcast. Happy full moon. You know, we often pay attention to like moments in time where it might be like more conducive for yoga practice. I don't know why I start rolling up my sleeves right when we start the class. I don't even know if you guys at home can see me, but I had this moment just now where I felt like Mr. Rogers starting, like he put on his shoes. I'm not trying to do that. Anyhow, typically we look for, or at least pay attention to certain moments in time where it might be even more conducive or more powerful to do meditation practices, like a full moon, for instance, or some eclipse. And we have enough experience with that to where we know that, there's a real thing there. Like if you've ever meditated through an eclipse, a full eclipse that's in your part of the world in particular, it's palpable. It's palpable. Like if you've ever meditated like early in the morning, say before the sun comes up, versus, later in the morning when it's, say, 10 a.m., there's a palpable difference. Right now in our lives, and at least my experience, this whole thing that we're going through as a global community and as a species with coronavirus and the effects it's having on all of our lifestyles and so forth, and the amount of pain that's being experienced. And there's some of us who were very fortunate. If you find yourself right now doing this yoga class or teaching this yoga class, we're in the category of those who are very, very fortunate. And with good privilege comes, to me, big responsibility. We have to figure out, like, all right, how do we fulfill that duty, that certain debt that we gain, and not debt in a negative thing, but that's just it. Like if each one of us has a debt, for instance, to our parents, it's not a negative thing, it's just physics. Regardless if we have a harmonious relationship with them, we were brought into the world, by our mothers. And so anyhow, right now at this moment in time, with everything that we're collectively experiencing, I'm finding, my experience, that the Dharma practices, the yogic meditation practices, visualizations, all the stuff we do, is very much amplified. Almost like it's an astral event that we might find that moment to choose to practice. Our uncertainties, while they've always been there, they're that much clearer in front of us. Life is always uncertain. And right now, it's right in our faces. And on one hand, that's difficult and challenging and painful. And in some people's cases, that uncertainty is affecting their life far beyond what many of us are experiencing. And unfortunately, in these types of circumstances, it tends to always hit those who are the most vulnerable, whether it's a pandemic or the criminal justice system, et cetera, et cetera. And so, as we begin this evening, I like to hold that in my heart, and to really be thinking about and praying for the people that may not be in a position to do something like this today. So anyhow, we're going to be doing some work with that as we go through this 40-day challenge also that's coming up. We begin on Thursday. And so this night just feels like a special night to me, and this class feels like a special class. In part because it's during this time of what we're all here going through together, and then because we're starting this 40-day challenge, which we've been doing 40-day challenges for years in the Life Force Academy, as a tool to help us transform, to help us grow, to help us be, to have real genuine love and joy more stable and consistent in our lives and how our hearts and our minds are experiencing life. But when doing it right now, it's just like, this is real powerful, and special in a subtle sense. And that's, I think, the most important types of things are the subtle things, because it's the subtle things that don't change in the same way as the dense things in life change. And by subtle and dense, it's not negative or positive necessarily. But for instance, there's a part of you that will one day die. And so because that's in our faces right now in a little more of an amplified way, whether that may be expressing itself as fear and worry or something else, that's always the case. Life is always uncertain. Eventually, all of us are going to die. But we don't typically have to look at it so closely. As yogis, we take that on as a practice, though, because it's a very powerful tool to actually experience deeper bliss in life. And so as a yogi right now, there are some definite assets, to this experience. And so that's one part of us. That's a dense part of us. Then there's a subtle part of us that will continue on. And whether we call it a soul, whatever we call it, I prefer not to call it anything at this moment right now, but this isn't trying to state this is how it is, but it's just kind of playing with reality and interacting with possibilities of reality, not gripping too tightly to any one concept, to any one idea, but having that fluidity and flexibility of the psyche as well as the body. And so that we can not be too uptight. We can have concentration skills, but not be uptight. We can be compassionate and loving, and also at the same time have the type of emotional intelligence to where we can really feel pain and suffering and sorrow and all the difficult emotions. And without pushing them away, we can utilize them on the path to where our difficult emotions do, in fact, become our allies. And that's what we're going to work on tonight. We're going to do a heroic heart meditation that does exactly that. And what we're going to be doing also starting Thursday is practicing it once a day for a period of time, 40 days specifically. 40 days to transform mental habits. So if the mental habit is currently a little bit excessively self-oriented, my, me, if it can be trained to be a little bit more others-oriented in the sense of altruism and compassion and love, and that the tendency of the thought is about being concerned for others and helping others, this is the pathway of blissfulness. And that is the foundation of yogic practices. And so therefore, to effectively do that, it does take some time. And to spend a significant amount of time doing that in 40 days is powerful, and life-changing. So it gives us an opportunity to take this time of our lives where there is a certain more constriction being placed upon us. The first limb of yoga is yama, which is what? It's really constrictions. The second limb of yoga, niyama, is really expansions, discipline and devotion. And so right now there's a certain constriction, like Saturnian energy, that constricts everyone into their homes and their households. But that's not innately negative. Depends how it affects us and how we're either used by it or we're able to use it. And so to do a 40-day journey like this would be, in my opinion, a wise way, and just one way, but a wise way of using the experience. So tonight what we're going to do is do some, I think, really wonderful yogic exercises, practices to move our bodies, keep our whole immune system, circulatory system, lymphatic system healthy, keeping the cellular energy of the body well invigorated, not too sluggish, keeping the mind clear and connected to the energy of the heart, and the heart connected to our bigger sense of purpose here. These are things it's wise to do daily, to make sure, just as important as taking a shower, brushing our teeth, making sure that we take care of our vehicles in this way on the daily. So we could all come out of this thing. We don't know how long it'll last, but we could all come out of it, because at some point we will come out of it, having actually benefited our lifestyle quite a bit, and taking certain things with us along the way. So once this kind of retreat, so to speak, has come to an end, we may be able to continue onto our lives. And now, on a regular basis, we're just taking better care of ourselves because we slowed down enough and recognized how to do that, and recognized the need for it in general, not just during this time. So for those of you who are brand new to any of these types of practices and Kundalini yoga practices, I think you'll enjoy it. If there's anything you need to modify tonight, please feel free to do that. Anyone out there who has any pre-existing injuries or conditions, please don't exacerbate or risk exacerbating an injury because of a yoga exercise. Just rest that one out, meditate, breathe, or if there's a way that's clear for you to modify it so it doesn't risk exacerbating an injury, please do that. How well you do each exercise is really not what's important here. We're just doing the best we can. We're using them as tools, not as something that, we have to be all uptight about or anything like that. If you feel angry, beautiful. If you feel joyful, great. If you feel sad, fine. All of it, any of it is none of it is an interruption or an obstruction. All of it can just aid the whole experience. And so please, take care of yourselves. And if you need to rest or just relax or lay down, please do that. We're going to work. We're going to do some powerful exercises. We're going to get our bodies and breath moving. And then the finale of this thing ends with the heroic heart meditation. And tonight, I'm so excited because I have new music to play that nobody's ever heard before other than the Simrit and myself and the creators of the music. Just got it over the weekend. And we're going to be using, this is it's from new stuff that will be released at some point in the future, but tonight we're going to use it because we heard it. It was sent to us over the weekend by her producer and friend of ours, and I listened to this one song, and I was like, this is some of the best stuff I've ever heard, and it's definitely the best version of this mantra I've ever heard. And so I grateful to be able to use that tonight, and to use it throughout the 40-day challenge. It's going to be music we're going to be able to use, and I think you're going to love it. I don't see how you can't, honestly. It's so good. And so anyhow, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here, and let's see how it goes, and let's enjoy the ride, okay? And last thing, for those of you who are new, anything that's not making sense, like what's that all about, I encourage you, don't worry too much about that right now. What I would encourage is that see if generally speaking, the practice and the vibe resonates with you. And if it does, then all the details and the few little formalities there are, you can totally figure out why we do that. Everything has a purpose. It's not any empty rituals. There's an energetic purpose for all of it. But the details you can figure out. The important stuff is to just have an experience. Let's make our bodies feel good, our minds relax, heart wide open, that kind of stuff. So take your hands, please, to prayer pose. Make a little heat. Where I don't know where you are, but where I am, it's a little